For a long time, I resisted the idea of using a cane. In my mind, a cane meant frailty. It was something my grandmother had used in her final years, and seeing it then filled me with quiet dread. I wasn't ready to be seen that way. I was still independent. I cooked, I walked around the block, I carried laundry baskets from room to room. Sure, I occasionally reached out to the back of a chair or leaned against the kitchen counter for support, but I told myself that didn't count. I was managing just fine, or so I thought. Then came the day I was carrying a full basket of towels, from the bedroom to the hallway. My hands were full, and I couldn't steady myself like I normally would. As I stepped onto the smooth wooden floor, my foot shifted just slightly. It was enough to throw off my balance. I didn't fall, but I slammed against the hallway wall so hard that I startled myself. My heart pounded in my chest, not just from the near fall, but from the realization that I was putting myself at risk every single day. That evening, I sat down and had an honest conversation with myself. What was I afraid of? Looking old? Appearing weak? And then it hit me. What's truly strong is recognizing when you need support and taking action. Pretending nothing is wrong doesn't make you independent. It makes you vulnerable. The next day, I went shopping and found a beautiful lightweight cane with a floral design that actually made me smile. The grip was soft but firm, and the frame felt sturdy without being heavy. For the first time, I imagined using a cane not as a burden, but as a tool, like glasses for walking. The first time I used it in public, I expected stares or pity. But instead, I got compliments. "That's such a lovely cane," one woman said with a kind smile. I thanked her and walked away, standing taller. Since then, the cane has become a trusted companion. I don't need it all the time, but I take it with me when I'm carrying something, walking on uneven ground, or simply feeling tired. I no longer grab at furniture or shuffle cautiously through the hallway. I move with intention. And the truth is, I feel empowered. Using a cane isn't giving in. It's choosing safety. It's honoring your body's wisdom and treating yourself with kindness. And sometimes, that's the bravest thing you can do. It was an ordinary morning, the kind that begins with the smell of coffee and the hum of routine. I had just finished tidying up the kitchen and was walking toward the fridge when, for no apparent reason, I felt a strange shift under my feet. It wasn't a big stumble. I didn't fall, but it was enough to make my heart race. I reached for the counter instinctively, steadying myself, my thoughts now miles away from breakfast. That single moment lingered. What if I hadn't caught myself? I whispered aloud. It haunted me quietly all day, not with fear, but with unease I couldn't shake. At first I chalked it up to fatigue or a fluke, but as the days passed, I noticed more of these little slips. Not falls, thankfully, but a slow erosion of confidence. I hesitated on steps I used to climb easily. I braced against walls while turning quickly, and I caught myself scanning the floor more carefully. A quiet question settled in the back of my mind. Is this just age? Then I read a startling article. It said that nearly 99% of women over 60 will experience balance issues at some point. 99 out of 100. I was floored. I had believed that clumsiness was optional, avoidable, or even my fault. But this was nearly universal. Still, the article offered hope. It explained that most of these balance problems weren't purely due to age. They came from overlooked habits, environmental triggers, and small choices that gradually add up. This realization changed everything for me. I began reflecting on my daily routines, my shoes, how I sat and stood, the lighting in my house, even how I moved at night. I realized that maintaining balance isn't just about coordination. It's about freedom. Freedom to walk unafraid, to step onto a curb without hesitation, to dance if I felt like it. Balance was a foundation, and mine was beginning to crack. Didn't want fear to dictate how I lived. I wanted to feel stable, safe, and strong again. And so, I made a decision. I would examine every small thing that might be quietly stealing my stability. Not with dread, but with curiosity and care. The first place I looked? My feet. Specifically, what I was putting on them. That's where my journey toward better balance truly began. At the bottom, where every step starts. When people think of balance issues, they usually imagine slippery sidewalks, icy steps, or dim staircases. That's what I used to believe too, until I nearly fell flat on my face walking on a perfectly dry, familiar sidewalk. It happened in broad daylight on my way back from the corner store. I was wearing my favorite pair of ballet flats, the kind I had worn for years. They were soft, flexible, and so easy to slip on. I thought they were perfect for daily errands. That day, though, one shoe caught on a raised crack in the pavement, and my whole body pitched forward. I managed to stay upright, but just barely. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. And all I could think was, that could have been so much worse. It was a wake-up call. I went home, sat down, and stared at those innocent-looking flats. Suddenly, they didn't feel so harmless. I began reading about how feet change with age, something I'd never considered. The arch starts to collapse. The cushioning on the bottom thins out. The tendons and muscles that once reacted quickly become slower and less responsive. With these changes, shoes that used to be comfortable might now be hazardous. So, I took a long, honest look at my footwear. Most of my favorites were flexible, unsupportive, and had smooth, slippery soles. At home, I often wore fuzzy slippers with zero grip. I hadn't realized how many times I'd nearly slipped on my kitchen floor while carrying laundry or walking too quickly. These weren't isolated events. They were warning signs. I decided to start fresh. I went to a store that specialized in shoes for stability and support. At first, I resisted. I didn't want orthopedic shoes. I still cared about how they looked. But to my surprise, I found a beautiful pair of lightweight sneakers in soft gray with floral accents. They had firm soles, good grip, structured sides, and soft memory foam insoles. I felt grounded the moment I put them on. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't just hoping I wouldn't trip. I felt confident that I wouldn't. Now, I wear those shoes around the house too. They're not heavy boots, just solid and stable. Since making the switch, I haven't caught the edge of that hallway rug once. It's amazing what proper footwear can do. Balance begins with your feet. If your shoes aren't supporting you, they're silently sabotaging you. And trust me, finding the right pair can truly be the first step toward feeling strong again. For years, I believed that being active meant being strong. I kept a tidy home, walked to the market, watered my garden, and played with my grandchildren when they visited. That had to count for something, didn't it? I never thought about muscles, weights, or exercises. I thought strength training was for gym-goers, not for women like me in their 70s. The idea of lifting dumbbells felt intimidating, even unnecessary. I wasn't trying to build muscle. I just wanted to stay mobile. Then came the moment that changed my mind. I was sitting in my favorite chair, a bit lower than the others, trying to stand up. I leaned forward, pushed with both hands, and still had to rock myself twice before I could rise. I sat back down, stunned. Had getting out of a chair really become that difficult? I hadn't noticed it happening, but there it was. My body had grown weaker, not from illness or injury, but from slow, silent muscle loss over the years. I started reading more about age-related muscle decline. Apparently, after the age of 50, we naturally lose muscle every single year unless we actively work to keep it. No one had ever told me that. It felt unfair somehow, that something so vital could slip away without warning. But the good news? It's reversible. Even at 70, I could rebuild strength. I just had to start. So I did. Not with a gym membership or personal trainer. I bought 2 small dumbbells from the local store and placed them beside my couch. I began doing light exercises while watching my favorite evening shows. Arm curls, leg lifts, wall push-ups. On days when I felt tired, I used just my body weight. The key wasn't intensity, it was consistency. A little effort, 3 times, a week. Within weeks, I noticed a difference. I could rise from that chair with ease. Carrying grocery bags became less of a strain. I walked uphill without needing to pause. But perhaps the most meaningful change was the return of confidence. That sense that if I stumbled, my body would respond, not collapse. My legs were stronger, my balance more reliable, and my posture steadier. Strength isn't about looking fit or lifting heavy. It's about moving through the world with assurance. When your muscles support you, everything becomes easier. And the best part? You can start anytime. Even if it's just a few minutes a day, done in slippers and pajamas, you're building the strength that protects your freedom. And that's a goal worth lifting for. It was late at night when it happened. I woke up gently, careful not to disturb Thomas, who was still fast asleep beside me. The house was quiet and still, bathed in soft shadows from the moon outside. I decided not to turn on the light. I knew the way to the bathroom by heart. Or so I thought. As I walked across the hallway, my foot caught the edge of a small rug. The slip was fast and sharp. I landed hard on my knee, pain flaring immediately. I didn't cry out, not to wake him, but the impact echoed inside me. I limped for over a week, and that week gave me plenty of time to think. Before that night, I never linked balance to vision. I thought my eyes were just good enough. I had worn the same pair of glasses for years. Sure, they had a few scratches, and I had to squint, more in dim light, but I assumed that was normal. What I didn't realize was that our eyes do so much more than help us read or recognize faces. They're constantly feeding our brain information about depth, contrast, and distance, critical details for keeping us steady on our feet. When vision starts to fade, even slightly, our brains get confused. We might step too far or not far enough. We may misjudge where the edge of the step is or how high we need to lift our foot. I didn't think I had a problem until my fall made it painfully obvious. That week, I made an appointment with my eye doctor. To no one's surprise, my prescription had changed significantly. I also learned that there were lenses with anti-glare coatings and features that helped in low-light environments. I updated my glasses, and the difference was immediate. But I didn't stop there. I installed small nightlights along the hallway and in the bathroom, subtle enough not to disturb sleep, but bright enough to see the floor clearly. I also upgraded a few dim bulbs in places I often moved through after sunset. Since then, I haven't stumbled once at night. More importantly, I feel confident walking around my own home again. It's a relief I didn't expect. Now I keep my lenses clean, my prescriptions current, and my lights warm and clear. It's a simple truth. We move where we see. If our vision is blurred or dim, our steps follow suit. Seeing clearly means living safely. And that's worth every adjustment. It started subtly, just a faint sensation of lightheadedness whenever I stood up too quickly. I assumed it was nothing more than fatigue, maybe from not drinking enough water or skipping lunch. But the feeling persisted. Sometimes, when rising from the couch, I had to pause and steady myself. I brushed it off, told myself I was just tired or aging a little faster than I expected. Then, one evening, while getting up to answer the phone, the entire room tilted slightly. I stumbled into the coffee table, knocking over a stack of magazines. I didn't fall, thank goodness, but the scare was enough to finally make me stop and pay attention. Later that night, I sat down with the bottle of medication I'd started a few months earlier, something my doctor had prescribed for my blood pressure. I had read the basic instructions when I first got it, but never really paid attention to the fine print. Now, with fresh eyes, I scanned the label. There it was, printed in tiny letters. May cause dizziness or loss of balance. My heart sank. That had to be it. What I didn't know at the time was that as we age, our bodies metabolize medication differently. A dosage that once worked fine in our 50s might become too strong in our 70s. Our kidneys and liver process substances more slowly, which can make side effects more likely or more intense. And when we take multiple medications, as many older adults do, the interactions can be unpredictable. I decided to take action. The next morning, I wrote down every symptom I'd experienced: dizziness, fatigue, unsteadiness. I also listed every medication I was currently taking, including over-the-counter vitamins and supplements. I brought the list with me to my next doctor's appointment. To his credit, my doctor listened carefully. After reviewing everything, he adjusted the dosage of my blood pressure medicine, reducing it slightly and suggesting a different schedule. Within days, the difference was noticeable. The dizziness faded. I no longer felt wobbly when I stood up, and I stopped bracing myself against the furniture. My balance returned, and so did my confidence. I couldn't believe how simple the solution had been. Now, I make it a habit to review my medications regularly. If anything feels off, I speak up. It's easy to dismiss side effects as just getting older, but sometimes they're signs. Your body is trying to tell you something important. Listening makes all the difference. After all, staying balanced isn't just about your feet or muscles. It's also about knowing what's happening inside. We spend so much of our lives inside our homes that we begin to take every corner, every step, and every rug for granted. I certainly did. I knew my house like the back of my hand. I could walk it in the dark, half asleep, and never worry about a thing, or so I thought. Then one morning, with my arms full of laundry, I caught the edge of an old rug in the hallway. I didn't fall, but I twisted my ankle badly enough to keep me off my feet for nearly 2 weeks. That one careless moment changed the way I saw my home forever. While I was recovering, I started looking around with new eyes. What other risks was I ignoring simply because they had always been there? The loose rug, the dim light in the hallway, the stack of shoes by the door, the step from the garage to the kitchen that required just a little extra lift. These weren't small inconveniences. They were accidents waiting to happen. I began making changes one by one. First, I removed or replaced any rug that didn't have a non-slip backing. I installed grab bars in the bathroom, next to the toilet and inside the shower, and placed a bath mat with strong grip underfoot. I added nightlights to the hallway, bedroom, and bathroom, soft but bright enough to guide my path without waking me fully. I moved my most used kitchen items to waist height so I wouldn't have to bend or stretch awkwardly. I even bought a shower chair, something I never imagined I'd need. But now, when I feel tired, I can sit while washing my hair without fear of slipping. My last change was adding motion sensor lights near the stairway. Now, if I get up at night, the way lights up without me having to do a thing. None of these updates were expensive or drastic. Most took just a few minutes to complete. But the peace of mind they've given me? That's priceless. My home no longer feels like a maze of hazards. It feels like a partner in my safety, a place that supports me instead of endangering me. Falling isn't always about weakness. It's often about environment. And making your home safer doesn't mean you're giving up your independence. It means you're protecting it. You deserve to feel secure where you live. A few thoughtful adjustments today can mean freedom and confidence for years to come. And that's a future worth investing in.